There is no denying that 2020 has been the worst year for cinema, with countless releases being delayed, several releases that were originally going to the cinema now going direct to streaming or renting platforms, venues being indefinitely closed or permanently closed for good, and guaranteed pre-pandemic hits like Tenet and Mulan bombing spectacularly at the box office and losing out on countless amounts of money for their respective studios. The only real silver lining is that if you're lucky enough and brave enough to go outside and have the ability to, that during this current global nightmare there are several cinemas currently open and showing a variety of film. For me personally, this is a blessing, and since the July reopenings in the UK, visiting the cinema has pretty much been the highlight of this whole pandemic for me, especially due to myself being currently unemployed and, like most of us, especially at the start of the pandemic, was getting sick of being stuck indoors or just doing the repetitive outdoor activities that we were allowed to near the beginning. But for me personally, the cinema has been the safest place I've felt, far better than the shops or anything like a town centre or restaurant or pub or anything, outside of my own home really, due to the excellent facilities they have for social distancing, and unfortunately and simultaneously fortunately, the lack of people that are still actually going out to the cinema to see these movies. I mean, the majority of my screenings have mainly been in the morning or early afternoon, where even before this pandemic it wasn't likely that these were going to be very busy. However, the first two films I did see when the cinemas reopened, The Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary re-release and The New Mutants, were both completely empty. And aside from Tenet and the release of Memories of Murder just this last week, none of the others I've been to have even reached double figures of audience level. As much as I love an empty to near empty cinema, due to annoying audiences also helping to destroy the cinema experience and the film industry in general, but that's another video for another time, it's undeniably depressing and sad to see just how little the films that are on at the moment are getting any attention and how much money that the venues are actually losing out on. This to me is about the overarching double-edged sword that is across the whole of this film debacle. Audiences want new content and they're more likely to come out to the cinema to see Black Widow, Wonder Woman 1984, Fast and Furious 9, No Time to Die, Halloween Kills, The Conjuring 3, A Quiet Place 2, Soul, Minions, whatever, all these different franchises that have all been postponed until next year and even further ahead, with some of the ones that are originally coming out next year and then being pushed back to 2022, 23 onwards. This is what people want. They know these franchises and they're hyped for them due to the previous installments and critical and financial acclaim. However, studios won't risk the potential amount of profit loss they could have on these big blockbusters, like the beginning of the pandemic films like Bloodshot and Onward, Pixar's more recent one. The disappointment of Tenet also hasn't helped, and the backlash to the extortionate rental price of Mulan, as well as that film's political problems as well. All of these elements are working against films being released during this pandemic and studios not wanting to risk it. Plus, I mean, they say it's the moral aspect as well of people's health, but I mean, Warner Brothers still released Tenet out there, and Mulan got released in some screens in China and the US, I believe. This is what's led to a very strange current release lineup that fills the screens around us currently at the moment. In a way, it's fun to see a variety of non-blockbuster films, aside from Tenet still being the main one showing. Currently, my local View and Odeon screens are bringing back current horror classics for the season of Halloween, which is a great idea, and people can experience these for the first time on the big screen instead of just their home TV, and like people experienced them firsthand in the 70s, 80s and 90s, depending on what film they see. And there are also all-time favourites and being brought back for their various anniversaries, such as Jurassic Park. As I mentioned, I saw The Empire Strikes Back. Back to the Future's currently on at the moment, and I think some places did the whole run of the Harry Potter films. What is also certainly noticeable is the lower budget and independent focused films. They're honestly probably benefiting more than they would have if the pandemic wasn't on at all, because people are bored and they want stuff to do, so they'll go and see whatever's showing at the cinema at the moment. Releases like Bill and Ted Face the Music, which also got a simultaneous streaming release, the excellent Saint Maud, and just last week the new crime comedy Pixie, which I gotta get around to seeing at some point. All of these are getting more attention and screen dedication that they normally wouldn't have if it was filled with blockbuster films. This is certainly a positive, as it gets people that wouldn't have seen these films normally more interested and can get them to try out different things. The more people try, the more likely they like to like something, or not like it, but you know, at least they tried it, and it also supports the films as well at the same time. Unfortunately, there is a negative aspect to this as well when we see the rubbish that's also being dropped into the cinemas at the moment. Films like Blackwater Abyss and Honest Thief are literally two of the worst films that I've seen this year. I mean, Blackwater Abyss released in July and I only saw it just this month at the cinema, which has been on for 3 months, taking up cinema screens. Blackwater Abyss, which it would have been direct to DVD if it weren't for this current climate, I reckon. It is a strange time at the moment for fans of cinema, for fans of movies. Obviously there's tons of stuff being released onto Netflix and Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Now TV. You've got so many options of stuff to watch at the moment, which again, some of it's great, some of it's not so great. And again, more content to watch and talk about in 2020 to keep your mind off the terrible events that are still going on at the moment. However, it does mean that cinema in general is going to have a huge blow this year from the lack of people seeing it and the lack of people risking to go out there currently due to this virus, which obviously is understandable. But for me personally, I think it has been probably the best aspect for me personally during this pandemic. Obviously there are people far worse off and unluckier than me at the moment, and they've got far worse problems to worry about. But if you are having any problems with it at all, I'd recommend going if you can, to take your mind off it, and it helps the film venues and companies keep running, and more likely that more films will get re-released and released to at least try and get a sense of normality to keep going during this terrible crisis at the moment. Sorry, I'm completely rambling at the moment because the script is finished. But I just wanted to kind of give my personal thoughts in a sort of vlog style of what I think and what I'm currently doing and focusing on with movies and films and whatnot, and cinema in general at the moment, and just what my thoughts were really. Just a rambling video. If anyone watched it, let me know what you thought if you want to see me do a bit more unscripted stuff like this. But yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what films you've seen, if you've seen any at the cinema. Will you risk going to the cinema where you are at all? And what films that you hope get released soon or brought back at some point. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll speak to you again soon. Cheers.